ready?
I think so.
Am I ready?
Are you ready?
I don't know.
I don't want to be ready anymore.
I don't want to do this adult shit
I
anymore.
don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to be the reason why. Okay. Okay, you want to do the clap?
I did the clap already.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
gonna keep it all in. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon, evening,
Yeah,
morning.
it's evening
Hi.
now.
When we are recording this, it is 9 p.m. on a Sunday night. So it is a good evening to us. How are you guys doing?
Whatever they respond.
How are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm good. I am coming out of leave recently because I'm switching jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting a new role next week, tomorrow actually. Shit.
Woo, new job.
I have to start working again. I have to dust off the cobwebs in my brain.
How many days actually that you were on leave?
Shoot, like 2 weeks?
2 weeks?
About
3
2-3
weeks,
weeks
yeah.
of that.
Which is crazy because you don't really get that as
I don't-
often.
Not even that. I'm not a person who takes leave normally.
Mm.
And this is since high school, I think. Since high school. After high school, I did a part-time job thing. I think I worked for my dad for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started uni. Then in between uni semesters, I would do part-time jobs as well.
Right.
Even
So
on
you
weekends,
never stopped.
I've never stopped.
Yeah.
Even on weekends as well. I'm working. I'm not working, but I'm helping out at church, helping out with stuff here and there,
Yeah.
couple of societies, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it's very weird for me to actually take a couple of weeks where I just don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
What I know is usually you take just for a holiday, 2 to 3
Yeah,
days.
but then for me
but
those
not-
are planned.
Yeah.
So this one wasn't planned,
Yeah.
and it's also suddenly, what do I do now?
But it's nice that now you know hey, I there is something to do next. And how are you feeling about it tomorrow? Are you excited for a new
Yeah,
job?
I'm excited, worried, but hopeful. That's what I always say.
Mm.
Excited, anxious, but hopeful. Scared but hopeful is what I normally say. Actually, yeah. So scared but hopeful, in a good way. In a good way. Yeah.
That's a good mixture of feelings lah.
100%.
Not too positive but not too negative, and ability to embrace it as it comes.
I've come to realize as well, apparently it's a thing where a lot of people cannot differentiate excitement and anxiousness. It's a very common thing.
It's a very similar.
It's very similar
jittery.
Yeah. Physiologically, it's very similar.
Yep,
That's why I always say excited but anxious, but hopeful at the same time. So
That's nice.
Yeah, so
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
This is something very new. This is technically your second job.
Yeah, my second
Official.
real job. I've been
Yeah.
on my first job for 6 years now. It's
Yeah.
long ass time, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's high time to move as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the past couple of weeks, I've just been hanging out with the girlfriend a lot more.
Girlfriend.
It's been quite a few months already. Okay.
I know, but every time you say it, I'll be like, oh, cute.
Yeah. Okay. Tangent. Do you think it's immature to say the word girlfriend or boyfriend? Because normally I default to saying partner as well, because I feel that's a little bit more feels
Legit.
more proper, legit and proper.
I feel that whatever terminology that works for you, as
Cop out
long-
answer. Cop
No.
out.
because I've heard another, and it was just today where a person a podcaster, I think it was a Australian podcaster, she was like, ew, I hate the word partner when she describes her husband, because she was like, oh, it's overused because there's life partner, business partner,
true,
blah blah
yeah.
blah. And then I've also heard another camp would be saying that boyfriend girlfriends are very childish, very high schooly and all of that. But at the same time, I also go back and forth because it's so much easier to say boyfriend, because sometimes nowadays partner, the term is being used by the LGBTQ
Yep.
individuals community to not define the boundaries and whatnot, right? So in respect to that, I also don't want to use the word partner, but at the same time I feel like partner is an apt word, because now you kind of come together to partner in life, to partner in the different situations, and or living together or do laundry together, to partner up. So for me, I don't typically have a which camp, like I go in between. I go in between like boyfriend and partner. It really, I think, depending on like your comfortability, or maybe like, some different situation that you feel like, oh, if it's more official or it's more like formal, you can say partner. But if it's like among like just a clique of friends and whatnot, and it's cool to just say
I will refer to
girlfriend.
her as Queen.
Yes, queen. Well, she is gonna be the queen in your life when you were to
She
marry her
is the
one
queen
day.
of my life.
Not
Now,
your mom.
no, actually not. Mom's like a couple tiers down.
Couple is like, is your
Still in the top like 5.
is your girlfriend, and then like the two
I think for now,
doggos.
yeah. No, I mean like for me religiously, God,
God, yeah.
girlfriend, probably some of my okay lah, mom will be there lah. Okay lah.
Then where do
3 or
you
4 lah, 3 or 4.
where do you rank yourself in that tiers of priorities?
These are different women in my life. I don't know. God is in.
God's
fair
another
enough, fair.
individual.
Fair. So
Another
God,
individual.
I think girlfriend right now, like
Mhm.
she, and then me, and then my parents, and so on.
Okay.
Friends and parents sometimes go back and forth. but
Yeah. Yeah. Like your main support system, like
Yeah,
the people that
yeah.
you're close to, right? Yeah. Okay. Super excited for you and your new
Yeah.
job. I would like to start today's podcast by saying I am absolutely tremendously sorry for being MIA for the past 1 month and a half. So
It's not that. Okay, fine. Yeah.
it is pretty bad, but so just context for you guys who are listening. The first few episodes that was released a couple of weeks ago, that was actually recorded way back.
December, yeah.
Yeah, and then we only release it later, right? And what Fabian and I try to do is we try to get into the rhythm of recording as many episodes as possible, so then we can have time to edit, and release it later on. And if you're busy, like there is still things that are going out lah, basically, right? However, I am the weaker link in this podcast situation, and I've been super 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 busy, unfortunately, and I've been ghosting Fabian. Literally, like
How dare you.
and I don't see you as well, right? Like I don't see you at work. I don't see you like after work and just to hang out. I didn't even go to like joggings or like just hanging out together. In February, I was busy with work stuff. We had events at work back to back. I was conducting trainings, and then Chinese New Year happened. And then in March, I was seconded for a special project, and I had to travel to Cyberjaya every single day. So waking up at like 5:30 a.m.
My God.
because I take quite long to shower, but then to travel from here, we were meeting up at a specific spot to travel together, so it all took like too long of a time. Come back only like 8:39 in the night, like out. I'm just out, and I still have clients to see. Most of my clients also, like I postponed it because my body just couldn't keep up, and I fell sick
Multiple times.
like now as well, I'm having sinus, and excuse me if I were to sneeze in between me talking and listening to Fabian, because my body, I think, is now reacting to like the whole not enough rest, not enough sleep, like pressure and all of that. So I am sorry, Fabian. I will do
okay.
better. I am trying to get my life in order, in priority.
Yeah. I mean, as are we, right? I mean, like, it's life a lot, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of us kind of recording a lot more in advance. Like, I know, I understand as well, like, shit happens.
Yeah.
Like, work comes in, and sometimes you just have to, like, be taken away for like 2 months or 3 months, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And but I think this is where also then like I like it's such a good flow where you had priorities of people, right? Now also I have priorities of things that I'm focusing on. So is it and I think I want to change it to like the priority of people as well, not just like the things that I'm working on, because work or hustling will never stop. Like we just talk about it in the lift just now. Like the world is hard, right?
World's
like
hard.
this tariff thingy or whatever, and things are just gonna be harder. We gotta hustle more, and there's always things that we have to do. So now I'm trying to be like, okay, these are some of the things that I can take a pause on. These are some of the things that I can say no to. These are some things that I would definitely have to make time for and committed to it. So one of the things, other than work, other than counseling, other than actually getting healthier and preparing for my 10K run
Woo!
in
Good.
May.
I'm so proud of you for like registering for that. By the way, I did not expect you to do it.
Well, I think, okay, so I think I can do 10K walk,
That's fair.
but I've never done like 10K like run or
Yeah.
jog, right? So I think that's like the step up is to like the endurance of like my body to go through a 10K run. That's what I'm scared of. I think like no matter what I can still finish the 10K, but
Just
I
within time or not, right?
correct, yeah.
No, I mean,
So
yeah,
so
I
yeah,
think,
and
I
podcast
mean,
will
no
be
one's gonna run 10K straight off, right? I mean,
a
no one who's signing up for a 10K. Okay, no, I'm gonna rephrase that. Some people sign up for the 10K to win, just to
yeah,
talk shit about other people. But like
yeah,
the normal humans like us, like we're not gonna run all 10K straight, right?
yeah.
Like two
I
or like two
correct.
walk.
I think as long as I finish it
Yeah,
within time, but I think this year was the year that I committed to Hisham, my partner, and myself, that
yeah,
I need to sort my own health and prioritize like my own well-being first.
yeah.
Um, besides all the other things that I said yes to. So I am committed, and I think that's why my body is breaking down a little bit more, because I'm pushing also my body to for like this workout and
Yeah.
exercise and all of that.
So you've said you used to prioritize your work or your projects or your things, and now
Mm.
you want to prioritize people, but you haven't said where you're prioritizing yourself. Huh? Throw the question back at you. Where do you rank in all your stuff?
So I think one, me being more self-aware and being more intentional in saying yes and no to things is a way to prioritize myself.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, when I prioritize also the exercising and going to gym, it's also a way to prioritize myself,
That's fair.
because I've always neglected that. I've always thought that it was harder.
Mm.
It's always like the second and the third thing, and it's the back, but it's like it is going in the back burner.
Yeah,
Um,
it's stuff that you end up neglecting.
Correct.
You can say,
Neglecting
it's
or
fine.
avoiding.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah. So I think that's a way for me to say that I choose myself. And some days where I told you, right, like I just can't, like I just
yeah.
need to sleep, and I've said that to you a couple of times already. So, and I still feel shitty, or like, oh man, I feel so bad.
Damn, you should.
Yeah,
I'm joking. I'm
I
joking.
still do, but then at the end of the day, I still say like, you know what, I cannot, like I've said no to hanging out with my partner's family a few
Mm.
times. They ajak to buka puasa together and all of that, and I just said no. I feel like so horrible
Yeah.
not showing up like
Mm.
as a family thingy, and they were inviting me, but my body just couldn't do it, and I said no. And I think that's a way of me saying, okay, Pearly, you take care of yourself first,
Yeah.
and then those other things comes in can take into effect properly.
Yeah, and I think like ideally it didn't have to come to that. Like it didn't have to come to like, I mean, yeah, I mean, like ideally it didn't have to come to like, oh, like, no, sorry, not retrospectively, when these things, important stuff happen, then I had no choice but to choose myself, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Like in an ideal world, you are already choosing yourself beforehand,
yeah.
so you're not completely burnt out when these opportunities do arise, right?
Yeah, which is something that I'm striving for, and I think
Mm,
what I'm hearing from you is what you're striving for as well, because you're
100%.
putting in a lot more time in other stuff as well, and with your new relationship and your new job.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to like think about as well, because with a new job, obviously you're gonna have to put in, especially when you're just starting off, right? You want to give a good impression.
Yep,
You want to set
the bar, the
start
standard.
strong,
Yeah,
kind of a thing
correct.
as well.
Yeah,
Set the standard and all that for your
yeah,
own work. So it's very, you know, obviously and very, you know, I guess consciously, it's going to take up more capacity.
yeah,
So I'm also kind of in a part of me that expecting like certain things to take less precedence in my life, and I will have to choose my job over other stuff, even if I don't like it.
Yeah,
Right?
or at least in the past, like the first 3 months,
Yeah, in the first 3 months or so.
probation
Yeah,
period and all of
and
that.
that was like a conversation I had to have with Ivy as well, right? My
Yeah.
partner on this. Like sometimes she's also kind of sad about it. It's like, but you're starting a new job, you're gonna have to like be busy again. Like these
Yeah,
past
can't
2
hang out
weeks, 3
as
weeks
much.
has been like
Yeah.
giving her a lot of time, a lot of
Yeah.
attention as well.
Yeah.
Because I've nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
I've been making like cheesecake and shit because I've like nothing else to do. I'm like, I'll make cheesecake, I guess. So yeah, but like then there's this big like contrast that's gonna happen
Yeah.
soon, right? And I've also like spoke to her about it. Like, yeah,
That's
it's
good.
gonna happen, but like it doesn't mean that I love her less or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just life, right?
Yeah.
Just
So
you have to
you've
accept
managed
things.
expectations.
Yeah, I have to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a learning process for everybody. Right? We're not perfect in any way.
Yeah. Talking about learning process, one of the things that I reflected recently and in preparation for this podcast, because we were thinking about like what to speak about, like what topic is like relevant and recent to us, right? So one of the big things that I felt that I wanted to talk about was how I've been responding or reacting to the overwhelmingness in my life, like all these things that have been happening, and me ghosting Fabian, and I was like, hey, this is not a healthy pattern. Like what is going on?
Oh, I forgot to say, apology accepted.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it very, very much.
Like honestly, it happens, lah. Yeah.
Thank you for understanding. I think you know me long enough that you understand me. But I felt the first trigger for me to think about that was actually when you texted Hisham.
Oh my god, that was so funny actually.
You'd be like, hey, is Pearly alive? and then and then Hisham was like, hey, you didn't reply Fabian. I'm like, yeah. And then
in Hisham's point of view, it was that I texted Hisham. It's like, hey, is she okay? Like, is she sick? Like, what's happening? I haven't heard from her in like weeks.
Yeah.
Like a whole week already. And then he's like, no, she's right next to me eating spaghetti and meatballs.
But I was like, and I was like, actually, like just not doing anything because I was just like after work or whatever, and I was
you wanted to rest.
Yeah, I just didn't want to like talk to anyone and all of that. And I realized that has been a reoccurrence in my life. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I like ghost people. And then I'm like, okay, this comes to like, okay, stress response. Like, how do I respond in different situations and stresses? And I realized that one of my biggest like downfall or my biggest like easiest way to just not do anything, and when stress comes, I respond by flight. I just like don't reply, just not there, just like ignoring. So if you see my WhatsApp, sometimes I have like 10-20 unread.
That's insane,
WhatsApp.
by the way.
Yeah, like no kidding, like literally I have so many. And some of my close friends from university, and also like, okay, I have very close circle of friends. So I think initially they were like, yo, what's up? Like, where are you? And all of that. And I think a lot of them realized that that is just the way I am. And I'm the kind of person where I'm not constantly there. I'm not going to be the constant friend who's going to text you all the time and who's going to chat with you all the time. Because, for example, I also have tons of messages on Instagram where when I'm bored or when I'm in the toilet or when I'm like traveling or whatnot, I just scroll through videos and then I'll send to you because I thought, oh, it's relevant to you. But then I don't like actually look back into the messages. So I have also tons of Instagram messages and reels that I have not watched, but knowing that because I only go on it like for 3-5 minutes when I'm free, once a day, twice a day. But I think that small circle of friends, after a couple of years, after a few times, knowing that, hey, Pearly is not actively avoiding you because she doesn't like you. She's just overwhelmed and she just can't do with life right now. And this is her response to kind of be okay for a little while, and
Mm.
she'll come back later. And I realized that that pattern has been reoccurring since, like, I can remember it's high school lah.
Mm.
Later years in my secondary school into university, and even at work, and even now lah, basically.
Mm.
So I think today
Mm.
I would like to for us to talk about like the different stress
Responses,
responses.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wondering about that. You said the word like avoiding and all that, and like the word, and we didn't have this plan or anything, but like attachment styles that kind of come up as well. Like, would avoidant attach, is it similar, or is like related in that way?
Oh, well, good question. I feel that it can be related, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's why our stress response can be towards situation, and the situation involves people, and when it involves people, there is that relationship, right? So it
Right.
doesn't mean just partner romantic, but it's with like family members and your support system. So I think this comes into effect, as well.
Because attachment styles are usually more on like social settings and human to human or
Yeah,
kind of thing, right?
correct. Yeah.
And stress response are situation
Situational.
regardless of human sometimes.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah. But then, because in a lot of situations, stress situation, humans are involved. So you are right. There could be,
There is a little bit of
there
an
is, yeah,
overlap kind
correct.
of thing
Because
going
at the
on.
end of the day, these are like words and terms and the theory behind who we are, right? Who our behaviors, like we are naming the reason behind our behaviors. So it does overlap slash related, and one way or another. I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that makes sense, right? Yeah. Like basically avoiding situations is a very stress response thing, but avoiding situations can also be a avoidant attachment style kind of thing. Right?
Correct,
It's
correct.
just same shit, different smell.
Literally, yeah. That's true. So,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah,
So stress responses. So if I'm correct as well, this is fight or flight, and we have freeze and fawn as well. And
correct.
we were looking into it just now as well. Like there was a
Fifth one. Flop.
not fluff,
Yeah,
flop that goes under freeze.
correct. So, what I understand based on what I've learned is typical stress response. Initially, it started out as like the three, right? The freeze, fight, flight, freeze. That's the first three. But then in recent years, I think psychologist has come up, or like has discovered this new term called fawn, and then lastly the fifth one is flop. So what's the difference? You wanna try? You wanna explain about fight, flight, and freeze first?
Maybe you explain it.
Okay.
You're the one with the degree here.
Hey, you did psychology degree as well.
Like many years ago.
Okay, so flight basically means fight basically means you're combating the risk or the threat, either physically or verbally, right? So typically the common thoughts and feelings is like it's your fault. So then you react with like anger, you react so people, for example, like road rage, right? Some people like verbally abuse like the horrible driver. Or like recently I saw a video of a guy just coming out, sorry, a guy was jaywalking, crossing with his family members, and the female driver almost hit his kid while they were walking. But then he wasn't taking care of the kid, like they were like, I think, eating or walking, whatever. The guy actually went to the driver's seat, I think opened the door, or the window was open, and he punched the driver, the lady, like twice.
Oh, damn, what the hell?
Yeah, and I think he got arrested. I think.
You
Can't
better
remember
be.
what's the yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and obviously I think this is like both parties' fault, but at the same time, like, you do not hit a person just because happened, but basically it's fight, right? Like
Yeah.
you confront the threat.
They're quite literally fight. In
Correct.
That sense.
Yeah. The second one is flight, where usually you flee, you escape from the dangerous situation. So typical common thoughts that when a person receives stress, and when they're responding to fight, be like, I gotta get out of here, like this is too much. So that feeling of like anxious and overwhelmed. So sometimes people, like, maybe if you see in dramas, right, when we're in a room where it's too busy, when it's too much, a person just walks out of the room. Or like in like a romantic relationship, when you guys fight and some
Yeah.
couple, like the partner will decide to like, I cannot, let me just walk out. So that is like flight. You are just leaving that situation, whether intentionally or unintentionally, maybe like also tuning out, not listening. Number three, the third stress response is freeze, where this is usually like you become immobile or like becomes still. You just go blank, like you are there but you're not there, lights on but no one's in
Got it.
basically. Or another way is like you press a pause, right? Like things are still happening but you are on a pause, like so you freeze.
Yeah, and I think like for me, I can attest to that a little bit. It's like your decision paralysis kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just like, there's so many things I just don't know what to do, and you're just
Correct.
like deer in
Yeah.
headlights kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. So you know like things are happening and all of that, but you just can't do anything, so you freeze. The fourth stress response is fawn. This is usually what happens is when there is a stressor, what you do is you try to please the other person, or you try to please the other party, so then you don't cause any further harm, or you don't cause any further escalation of the problem. Typically, you see this in like a um, work setting, right? Like when something happens at work, and you feel like maybe you don't have the power to, and you're scared to say your your
piece,
part.
yeah.
You'll be like, oh, okay, sorry boss, excuse me.
That
So
was
yeah,
a sneeze for people who did not are not watching. And another one. Bless you. Twice.
thank you. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. So that's
Who's
fun.
got money on the third one?
Gotta bless me the third time. And the last stress response is called flop. Flop is like the sub extended version of freeze.
Yeah, I
Right?
guess like yeah.
Where you actually physically and mentally shut down, where you just dissociate from the situation. Usually it's not worth it anymore. Like the common thought would be like, it's not worth it anymore. Like I cannot, like F this, I gotta go.
It's like a completely I just like give up kind of thing,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. So this could be like disengaging, very similar to like freeze, but also a lot of people like literally just not showing up. So like not showing up to work, not showing up to like an event or something. So I feel like a lot of common issues that we see, or a lot of employers complain about this new generation of workers is, oh, they went through a problem or the boss called, the next day immediately don't show up, and like they didn't even resign, they literally just don't show up.
Yeah.
And the worker was okay with it, because I guess they have not learned how to respond to the stress and the situation accordingly. So those are like the 5 typical stress response a person would have in different situations. So do you think these stress responses are,
I mean,
good or bad?
yeah, they're not necessarily bad, right? I think how we've been kind of how it is normally explained and the way you explain as well, it sounds a lot worse than it actually is. But I think for the most part, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think they are all there for a reason, for the most part. Like it was built into us to protect us, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like so built into us in a sense. So that two kind of schools of thought over here, and I think they both apply. Like evolutionarily speaking, right? Caveman see
Unga
tiger,
bunga.
unga bunga caveman see
Lion.
dinosaur, lion, saber-toothed tiger, whatever
Tiger.
it is.
Sorry, tiger, because they go into the forest to find food, forage,
Yeah.
and all of that. So tiger
Okay.
makes more sense.
Unga bunga caveman see tiger. Best case scenario is they fight, maybe, or they run away, or so for some of them they just freeze and they give up. right?
Yeah, because sometimes they say like, oh, if you see a bear, like you don't
Like,
move.
don't
You
move.
yeah, like you just pretend you're dead, then the bear will just don't disturb you. So
Hmm.
if evolutionarily, biologically,
Yeah,
our
words.
body has been has been has been wired to respond to dangerous situation by these stress responses
Yeah,
of fight, flight, freeze, is because just to protect us, right? These are like legit situation
yeah,
to protect us from those scary situation.
yeah. And like maybe fast forwarding to right now, right? from
Yeah,
from caveman times to right now, like our experiences as children, and also obviously as kids, our experiences just kind of growing up in different social environments and all that, that also shape our stress response, right?
correct.
How like what whichever response had the better or more beneficial or
Outcome.
desired outcome,
Yep.
maybe to our parents, and our parents scold us, for example, what's the best kind of retaliation that we trial and error and figured out, oh, this is the best one. Because
Yeah.
I think as children, that's where, and I've been hearing this a lot, as kids, you'll hear a lot of the different responses. They will start to experiment at ways to get kind
Correct.
of a reaction, kind
Yeah.
of get an outcome from their parents, and eventually one will stick more than the others, and so on,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, to protect ourselves. So, in regards to the first one, like our um evolutionary thingy,
Yes.
basically the our body still responds to threat. However, they do not know that the threat has looked different. It is
Yes.
looking different, right? Like last time was tiger, was like all the natural stuff, and now it's email. Now it's like planning for a podcast,
Now it's a Slack message
a
going.
Slack message.
What's a Slack message? I can't. Whatever it
I
is.
don't know,
Whatever
whatever
you
it
set your
is.
Slack message
Yeah.
sound is, right?
But our body still feels like it's a stress.
Mm,
And like you said exactly, these stress responses really develop when we are younger. Like we figure out, okay, if we do this,
yeah,
people will not scold us. Like we will
yeah,
feel safer, if we do this, and we tend to bring it into adulthood.
yeah, 100%. I think like the scary response, and I think, and I can say this because I've realized a lot of people had this experience as well.
Mm.
They would hear the footsteps of their parents walking up the stairs or walking near their door,
Mm.
and their first reaction is to pretend they're asleep.
Yeah.
If I'm asleep, they can't bother me,
Yeah, they would not know like I've done bad stuff, and
Even if I
I'll
done bad
run
stuff,
away.
maybe they'll deal with it tomorrow, and when tomorrow comes, maybe they'll forget about it.
Yeah,
Right.
correct. Yeah.
So I just pretend I'm asleep. Play
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. Played it exactly like a bear.
Like a bear. Play dead.
So then, like, how can you share some examples of what happened in your childhood, or like what happened recently that what's your stress response, and like reflecting upon it, like what happened in your childhood that you tend to like
Damn, put
do
me on the
that.
spot. I think it's quite literally that, right? I mean, I think so.
So now, do you also like just pretend dead?
No. And I think everybody responds to different stress differently, of course, but also situationally, there are different responses to it, right? So
Mm.
sometimes it's a flight, sometimes it's a fight, sometimes it's a freeze, fawn, flop, whatever it is, right?
Mm.
I think right now, I guess more recently, right now more recently, it has been like I'll try to fight, and I'm a bit more aggressive, like fight first. But what I've noticed as well is that after fighting about something, or after trying to get my way about something, I will also, sorry, let me rephrase this. After fighting and didn't seeing the outcome I desire,
Right.
I will end up fawning or flopping. In a sense, not maybe not flopping, but fawning. So as
Okay.
in like, I try to say my piece. I
Yep.
try to say, hey, I think this is the best way moving forward. These are my points, blah blah, and maybe the other side don't agree with it, and they have the bigger say or whatever. Then over time, I'll fight less and less and less, and over time, it just reaches into a fawn.
Right. Then you just say like, oh, okay
Do
lah,
whatever
yeah,
you want. It's
follow, yeah,
okay. There's
I'll
no
follow
point fighting
you.
this.
Mm.
Right.
It's very interesting that you said now, your response would typically be fight first, because I remember initially when I was working with you, starting like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. Damn, we know each other quite long already.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, I feel that you are the kind of person who's very um understanding of people, and your response, I would say more of Fawn, like
Mm.
last time. Like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, can. Because I feel like you're the kind of person who always say that, can. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Mm.
So like when you, and sorry, this is in the context of work, right? So question.
How did it come to that?
Previously, yeah. So one is previously when you always say like, yeah, sure, I'll figure it out. Like you didn't even like question it, you didn't even like counter it or whatnot. Is that a stress response? And two, if it is, then how did it come
Hmm.
to now or in the recent months more to fight? Was there a trigger point? Was there a different situation? Like, yeah,
I
what
think for
exactly?
me, it's not so much of a stress response when it came to fawning in like the in our past lah, right? When we were working together, it's more on sometimes genuinely like I want to make this work. I like the idea. Let me try to. I went straight into problem solving mode basically, and I still do that right now, right?
Okay.
The reason why I sometimes fight is because maybe I have experience now.
Mm,
I believe in certain things to be done in a certain way,
right.
and maybe you disagree with it, and I
Mm,
kind of want to I believe this is right, and kind of go back and
mm,
forth for
mm,
that, right?
mm,
And
mm, mm.
there's no wrong in that fight, right?
Yeah.
It's just how you kind of push and pull,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
So in that sense, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that's not a stress response. I feel like that is where you are responding to the situation. You make it as a discussion
Mm.
because that is a different. I feel lah, it's
Yeah.
a different. It is a situation, but I don't think it's giving you. Let's say if it's in a work setting lah, right? I don't think it's giving you stress, but you said with experience. So now you come from a space of like, hey, I am responding in a different
That's fair.
manner
That's fair.
because it's not stressful, but it's just like now we are in the
Hmm.
discussion. I'm a peer. I have more experience. And I want to give my thoughts and opinions about this. Do you think that there is a difference?
Mm. I agree. No, then yeah, I think defining it a little bit better, right? I don't think that was a stress response. Maybe I don't know, but I do see maybe another example of my stress response, and I
Yeah,
see
maybe
myself
not
doing
outside
it
of work.
outside
Yeah.
of work. I still do like a lot of quote unquote fight
Okay.
in the sense where someone like driving stupid, and I immediately scold them, and then my partner would immediately just like, "Oi,
Don't do that.
she'll do," and it's a that it will
It's
be
so
like,
typical.
yeah, it's a trigger sound now, like, oh, sorry.
So immediately you'll be like, then you fawn.
Gonna beat my
Uh,
ass.
it's so Asian. The yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In those situations, I think it's also like immediately when something happens, I'm gonna retaliate, right?
Mm,
I guess even in work, if something happens, honestly, I think it's closer to like a freeze or flop sometimes. Then, if that's a
okay.
real like actual stressful situation, because like the example I gave with decision
This
paralysis,
is
right?
yeah.
Like too many things happening, and that's a
Mm,
stress response, right? Anxiety, too
mm,
much stuff happening, too many things to try to prioritize, and a lot of times I would just freeze. A lot of times I would maybe just drop a couple of balls and just like give up
yeah.
on a few things, right?
Yeah.
And I think I saw that happening quite a lot in my journey as well.
Mm,
It's something again very much working on it, and maybe I'll talk about it later, right? How it can be beneficial later
mm,
on
mm,
as well.
mm, mm.
But yeah, that was me.
Okay.
What about
Okay.
yourself?
Mm, I think my typical one would be fawn first. I have growing up, I have this personality or my behavior. It's like I will take care of people. I will take care of you. In even in like within my friends or with my parents because as you hear in the first couple of episodes, right? Like I was quite I was adultified quite early on, like
Adult to
parentified
fight.
parentified early on where I had to figure things out myself. So I feel like, you know what, I'll take care of myself. So if things were to happen or and whatnot, I will be immediately like, don't worry, I can do it. Like I'm a like that's why I think the people pleaser also
Mm.
comes in, right? Like I can so immediate the biggest memory that I can think of when I was younger is when I was, shoot, I can't remember, maybe at 11, 12 years old. I we had a maid, so I with my family has always had an Indonesian helper, like a maid, the kakak help out for a long time. So I've had like three four for the fourth maid when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old, I can't remember exactly. She ran away. So after
Mm.
2 years, and my parents renewed her contract, and I think she was very young at that point of time. All my previous kakak, they were older, they had children, but this fourth one was very young, and I think she decided that she didn't want that to work anymore, and she just like she ran away.
Mm.
And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, or the system is still similar. Is if your maid run away, because you're contractual,
Right.
you've paid a certain fee with the agent, but also now you are responsible for another person. So
Yep.
technically, my parents were blacklisted because the maid ran away. So if
Right.
to unblacklist and to hire another maid, you need to pay a certain fine and all of
Mm.
that. And it's not easy to find a kakak, a help that is
Mm.
suitable for the family, quickly and all of that, right? So when I was at that time, like a primary school student, I immediately say, you know what? I've been very independent. I won't cook because it's dangerous, but you just cook for me, just rice. I can cook rice in myself, but my mom would then fry like fish or make a soup in the morning and just put it in the kitchen. And then when I come back, I will just lock everything, and then I can say that, oh, you can ask the neighbor to just make sure that blah 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 and all of that, and I will call when I come back and whatnot. So literally at like primary school level, I was thinking about my parents not paying fine, because I did not know, in that sense. Maybe I felt I was responsible. I didn't treat the kakak nice, so I could
Mm.
do more to help around, and the kakak would not be tired of me or whatever. I was already thinking about that, and I was like, you know what, it's so expensive. I can be independent. I don't want my parents to take leave
Yeah.
because they were government servant. It's harder to take leave, and all of that. And I just said, you know what, I can be a big girl already, don't worry, I can take care of myself. But I was scared shitless, right? Like it was my first time living at home. Even until now, like I don't sleep with my lights off full. I sleep with a small light on, and that's how I'm scared, like being alone. So until
Sorry,
now,
I will judge you for that one.
I mean, you judge me for a lot of things, and I'm okay, and I'm okay with it. I've learned that I can't escape that. But I had to go against
Yep.
all thoughts, and it was a natural response to say to my parents immediately, like I was like a primary school kid,
Yeah. Yeah.
like why would I think
You
and
needed to
do
do all
that?
that, right?
Yeah. But that was my natural response. So I think fawn typically is my natural response, because I've been told multiple times that I can't say no. I'm a people pleaser
Mm.
and I can't say no. And my partner Hisham has scolded me many times to be like, hey,
It's
think
not
about
your job.
yourself
Yeah.
first. Yeah, yeah, it's not your job. Think about yourself first. So I think that would be my
Hmm.
primary response. But then if things get too overwhelming, my second response would be flight slash flop.
Hmm.
Flight is where that's where I ghost people. I'll be like, don't disturb me. I cannot, like, well, flight freeze lah, right? Like I freeze is not doing anything about it, but also then not responding to people. So I have that tendency, and I do it a lot. I think also when I was in my dark days. So in my dark days I was alone, nobody knew about it, even my then boyfriend. Um had a difficult time trying to contact me and trying to connect with me again, because I was just like, I cannot deal with people, with
Hmm.
society. Well, I think one is the dark days, the depressive episode where you just don't want to socialize with people and you can't deal with people, right?
Yep.
But I think that has also incrementally affected how I deal with it. So now As you can see, the past month I did not reply you immediately. After 1 to 2 weeks, and you had to text Hisham, then only I reply. So I think that's my second natural
Mm.
tendency when I deal with stress.
Do you think it has changed over time as you experience new things? I guess.
Hmm. Good
Yeah.
question.
So for me, and I'm just reflecting about this now, right?
Yeah.
Is that I've realized in the past couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
it has triggered into a more fight than freeze already,
Okay.
because I've also realized I needed to just make decisions faster.
Right. Right.
And sometimes I think most of the people around me, my family, my friends, sometimes or even at work as well, right?
Mm.
It's a lot of not making a decision. It's a lot of
Mm.
thinking too much rather than acting.
Right.
And I've come to a point where like I
Cannot
think we
already.
just need
Yeah.
to make decisions. We just
Yeah.
need to make a call, right?
Mm.
So I've realized in a lot of situations, more so than less right now, like it's becoming more fight.
Interesting. I think very similar to that, but maybe my take is different because now I'm trying to be like less people pleasing and all
Yeah.
of that. So I think that actively pushes me to then not go for fun because I realized in the past maybe 2 to 3 months I the stress response is lesser of like fawning
Mm,
because I'm actively trying not to say yes.
that's
I'm
fair.
actively trying to say no. But the flight freeze thingy, it's still very much apparent.
Yeah.
The flop, not so much of like I purposely do it, but
Mm,
I think this is where like my body just reacts to it. Like I fall sick,
yeah.
so then that's where I'm totally out.
I
Yeah.
guess sorry to redefining like fight a little bit, right? Because
Mm,
fight itself, it sounds like a very aggressive thing, but
mm.
like, is fight always an aggressive action?
Are you asking me or
I'm asking you, and also like, what do you think about it, right? Because I was wondering, like,
then-
because yeah, in my case as well, right? It's like,
mm,
oh, I fight, quote unquote
mm,
fight, but
mm,
I just need to make a decision. I just need to make a call, be it good or bad or
mm,
whatever it
mm,
is,
mm,
right?
mm.
But that's not necessarily like a bad thing,
No, it's not.
or it's not really necessarily done aggressively.
So maybe we need to term it or differentiate a little bit more. I think fight as a stress mechanism is you being combative and not wanting to deal with the situation and responding to the situation head on.
Got it. Okay, so a
It's
stress
a
response in this case doesn't solve the problem. It's just more of a delay, and all of these are kind of a delay response to the actual response. Is that it?
sorry, maybe not. Maybe how may I say? Because if you think about like in our ancestors, right? Fight
Mm,
actually helps them to get out of the bad situation.
that's fair.
Correct. But making decision because you have to, it's not a stress, not necessarily a bad stress response. It's like the logical, rational thing
Well,
to
like
do.
yeah, and I guess the only difference between like a logical, rational one is like the time taken to actually put in the thought, right? So a
Correct.
fight is more reactionary, where
Correct.
there's a lot less thought behind it.
Correct. Yeah, and it's more to like just being combative.
Yeah,
It's just against like you just want to protect yourself,
yeah.
but
Mm,
in reacting to that situation. But if you actually consciously be like, hey, I need to make a decision. The decision is to have a discussion that may be against having two opposing thoughts with the other person and whatnot.
mm,
It's not necessarily a bad and a fight stress response. I
that's fair.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Because and a second line of thought that I was
Mm,
thinking about this as well, right? And
mm,
you were explaining like fight, flight, freeze, form, and flop,
mm-hmm,
fawn and flop.
mm-hmm.
This is a hell of a tongue twister, by the
Yeah,
way.
like all the F's.
Flop, 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 flop. um,
So talking about tongue twister, I saw a funny video that Hisham showed me. The Santiago, the Joe Santiago. I can't remember the two YouTubers, the two guys who are
don't know. Continue.
okay. Anyways, they were doing tongue twister, be like blue gun, blue gun, and like all the other stuff, and it was like funny as hell. Maybe we can do an episode of
Sure.
just a random game session before we start a serious topic.
Okay, we'll think about it.
Okay. Anyways.
Anyway, I was thinking about it, and I was looking, and as you were explaining it, and I was reflecting, and then I
Mm,
realized I think fight is probably the worst type of stress response because and this is my interpretation of it, right? In the sense, because if you look at flight, freeze, flop, fawn, they are mostly an inaction, or rather like delay to the action, delay to the issue. But a fight is a real actual action done, and it
Interesting.
cannot, and a lot of times these actions cannot be undone. So for example, like your car situation, right?
Yeah.
This person got out of the car or got to the side of the
Punch,
driver
yeah.
window and punched the lady in the face, right?
Yeah.
And this had an immediate consequence to the other things, and it
Correct.
cannot be undone.
Correct.
Whereas flight, freeze, flop, fawn, like these are things that could be undone in a sense, or it's more likely to be undone. Right.
What if the situation, when it's delayed, but the consequences is as bad as like punching someone? Like, so for example, you had a massive fight
Yeah.
with your grandma or whatever,
Sure.
like someone person that you love, and the person is not feeling well or sick or whatnot, a best friend, right? And then suddenly and you ran away, that flight, right? Like, don't talk to this person. And then suddenly, like, the person got sick or like got into an accident and unfortunately passed away. And literally you can't solve the problem anymore because the person that you had a fight with,
I mean, that's a very like specific thing, but if you would imagine to take any other action,
that's true,
it would have ended in the same consequence. Okay, so I think an example I was thinking about is like an argument with your spouse or an argument with your partner, right? If you take the fight approach and you say something back,
it's going to be
it's a
even
lot
worse.
more painful, and it's harder to be undone.
It's like fire adding on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you take the flight, freeze, flop, fawn approach sometimes, yes, the problem isn't solved, but the reaction is, something that is easier to kind of undo. And in fact, in a sense where you've delayed the problem a little bit, but you can still correct your wrong and be like, hey, we didn't finish the conversation. Hey, like you've had more time to process it a little bit, and then you kind of go there. Rather than fight, you say something bad already. And it's extra bad because then you still have to do the process of like killing your ego, taking it all back again, saying sorry, and all this kind of things. Right?
Yeah, in terms of the degree of like how bad or how it affects
intensity kind of thing.
Well, I agree to a certain extent, but I still want to differ a little bit, right? So taking the same example in a relationship, the spousal relationship, a romantic relationship, sometimes when you decide to just walk away from a fight, your partner, the partner that receives it, might actually still receive it. Like still receive it as bad as like you fighting back. They would prefer you fighting back because they would perceive as you walking out as like maybe you're not loving them anymore and you're just giving up.
Right.
So I think it's also contextual.
Yeah, I guess I get what you mean. Like thinking, as I'm saying, I kind of thought about it as well. What you say can still be kind of taken back.
Yeah.
Saying sorry and all that.
Because I also believe like every action and also inaction
has a consequence.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And has a meaning. It is saying something. It is giving a meaning to something.
No, that's fair.
So I think one is contextual. Two is also because this is again like is individualized, right? Like who you are, your circumstances, and how you deal with it. This stress response is ultimately supposed to protect you, but I think if you are not self-aware about it, it is then detrimental for you. Right?
Yeah, no, I completely get it. And yeah, scratch that thought, I guess. But I mean,
No,
it's a good conversation.
I think you're not wrong. I think to a certain extent, in different situations and different setting, I agree. Much better to take a pause, take a step back, maybe like don't talk about it for a little bit, but whatnot. Is better than just like spewing like hateful stuff or spewing and all of that. But I think in relation to that, there needs to be expectation setting as well.
Yeah. And I think that's when you are no longer stress responding, then you're actually solving the problem.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So I
No,
think
that's fair.
having self-awareness and knowing what's that, and maybe your partner or your family knows
Mm.
this is your stress response, but then how do you then deal with it, and what are the step by step? Because sometimes we can't change our stress response,
You can't.
because naturally it is to help you, your body is just trying to protect you.
Yeah.
But then how do you deal with it? How do you do with it? What do you do with that information, with the
Yeah.
with the people that you love?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's basically like a ball coming towards you. You dodge, you hit the ball away,
Yep.
you stand there
Yeah.
and get hit by the ball for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
It's how you in the end respond and stay safe. It's how your body kind of
Correct.
reacts to things, right?
Yeah.
And I think I like what you said, right? Like a big part of this is just the journey of becoming more self-aware,
Correct.
becoming more, I guess, mentally aware and emotionally aware about your actions or inactions,
Yep.
and how that appears when you are under a lot of stress.
Yeah, why I say that is very important is because, like I said again, this stress response, it is a natural unconscious thing, but it doesn't negate the behavior.
100%, yeah.
Right? So then for us to improve, for us to do better as a human, as a person, as a partner, as a worker, and whatnot, then how do you take a step back and be like, okay, this is who I am, unfortunately, fortunately.
Yeah.
How does it affect the people around me, and then do something about it?
I think that just takes a lot of mental awareness, right? And
Yep.
a lot of practice. I think the only way, because right now that's something that I'm very much interested in as well. It's something that I try to practice as much as possible. I like to think I'm quite like hyper self-aware sometimes.
How do you do it?
Yeah, for good or for bad lah sometimes, right? Like for me, it's just a lot of practice. And I've said this a lot of times in the past as well, right? It's just a lot of practicing and a lot of retrospecting. Like, oh, I responded this way, probably not the best response. Why did I respond this way? Oh, it's because this person came at me like this, and that made me very stressed. This was my immediate response. What can I do next to be better? What can I do next time when the response like this happens again? What can I do? Right?
So a lot of introspection.
It's a lot of introspection and a lot of just like, and this is where people talk about journaling. When we talked about it last couple of episodes, people talk about meditating. People talk about just like, talking about problems.
Yeah.
Like I believe like us doing this podcast kind of series is also like kind of self-therapizing.
Yeah. No, I feel like we prepared for a certain flow of conversation, and a lot of the questions that we asked each other was like in the moment we ask each other and truly reflect upon it.
Yeah, and hopefully I believe that these are questions that people listening would also kind of end up asking as well, right? But it is like a lot of this like hyper self-awareness that sometimes I try to have as well, for good or for worse sometimes. For me, I realized that what I write here as you were talking. So this hyper self-awareness, how I've kind of practiced it is I force myself to see situations or replay situations in a third person point of view. So I kind of detach myself from a thing that happened already in the past, and I look at it as like, oh, this is me, this is a situation, and this is like me battling the situation, for example, right? This is how I responded to this person or whatever. So I don't know, think of it as like a Mortal Kombat fighting scene, right? Dun, 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 dun.
I'm impressed with myself that I know that reference, because I'm not a gamer.
And then you as the player, now you're looking back at this and be like, okay, when this person did this, you did this. When you did this, that person did that, blah, blah, blah. And just kind of seeing this from a third person point of view, right? So then you would kind of replay these situations. Oh, what if I do this the next time? What if I responded in a slightly different way? And that's basically, for me, how you experiment with like social interactions. So you end up, for me, it's like I went out to like talk to strangers, or whenever I have these stressful situations. Oh, I remember I did this last time. Let's try this random next approach. Works well sometimes, doesn't work well sometimes, and then just how you kind of learn, right? The example I wanted to point to when I was talking about it just now. Recently, I just watched, and it took me so long to finally watch this. Netflix's what's called Black Mirror's Bandersnatch.
I have no idea. I mean, I know what's Black Mirror, but I have no idea what's Bandersnatch. Assuming that's a character.
Yeah, so Bandersnatch is the video game that was in the show. So that matters a lot less. But what it is basically a choose your own adventure kind of game. So I don't know if you've ever had those storybooks or those games where they tell you a story and they're like, hey, pick a decision.
Mm.
Either go through the forest or go into the sewers. You
Yeah,
either
like
fight the
door A, door
troll or
B.
door A, door B. Fight the troll or bribe the troll,
Right.
whatever it is, right?
Right.
And whenever you do an action, you're asked to flip to a next page, flip
Yep.
to that certain page, and then
Yep.
it tells you the story.
Mm-hmm.
And then tells you the consequence.
Yeah.
So I ended up trying to think about it in a situation where, like, okay, next time if this happens again, let's try this approach. And then this was the consequence that happened. Okay, cool. What if I try this approach? And I kind of rewind time, not directly, but
Yeah.
like some of it directly, like retrospectively. Oh, if I did this action, what could have
have been-
happened?
Yeah.
Or the next time this happens again, let me try this new
Yeah.
reaction, this new response, right? And then that over time kind of allowed me to, in a way, think about my actions first before making the rash decision. Or rather, like, I would make the more logical or the more rational or the more quote unquote correct
A
decision,
better
a better
decision.
decision, quicker as well. Because then I know what response is probably the best one.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very interesting that you say. So basically, you reflect, kind of introspect, be like, okay, this is what I've done. But if I were to go A, like, these are the consequences, that the step, the situational, the steps that could happen. Like, if I choose B, this is could have step. And if I have never experienced either or, you try to experiment with it kinda now to see whether it works or not. Don't work, then it helps you to be more informed in the future.
Yeah.
My question to you is, I think a lot of people nowadays, we try to be more self-aware. We try to, read self-help books, we go to therapy and all of that. But a lot of time it's easier to just intellectualize things and situations and our decisions. But like making the changes or experimenting with it is a bit scary because
it's very easy to fall into the trap of like being what do they call it?
thinker,
Not
like
just a
just a-
thinker, but like a self-help junkie, as I would call it.
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Like, it's so easy to say, like, and it makes sense, right? You feel like you're reading all these self-help books or going to
and
therapy.
you know better, you feel better about
Yeah, you
it.
feel better because to you, doing all these things is making a positive change.
Yes.
But if you think about it, it's not really doing anything.
Correct. The change is
Hasn't happened.
the change is in your mind,
Yeah.
but it's not reflected in your behaviors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So until you kind of get off of like doing the like reading and intellectual, like, or just like absorbing information and
Yep.
actually putting an output,
Yep.
then only things can actually change.
So then my question to you is then, how do you push yourself to not just intellectualize things, but actually experimenting and make those behavioral changes?
Ooh, I don't know what specific trigger it was,
Mhm.
but I think I just came to a point where, like, I just came to the realization, like, reading a bunch of books, it's not gonna do anything. Right? The problem I realized after reading so much and doing all these things, like, it doesn't make the problem better. I think I mentioned this last time as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm not much of an avoid the situation kind of person
Yeah.
because all my life I don't run very fast, but also like avoiding the problem to me has never been able to solve the problem. So why?
Yep. Why
problem is
now?
still
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I've always been a person who just like has to do the thing.
But do you think that there was a difference between Fabian maybe like 1 year ago versus Fabian now?
I think so. Yeah. I think it is a lot of that. You know, confidence is one thing. Like being able to experiment on it. The more I experimented or I forced myself to experiment on things, the more confident I became in my responses and the better I became in things like right.
Yeah.
I think one thing especially as well, right, that I'm still working on even right now, right? And then I have to like actively go through this process of like I would need to force myself to do this thing in order to see benefit, right? And it's not just health junkie thoughts in my head or
Yeah.
thoughts on a book or thoughts that I say in a podcast or whatever,
Yeah.
right? I think it's just like having difficult conversations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not comfortable for me, but I feel like it's always the right thing to do.
Yeah. I think very similar to you. I've learned this technique because when you go to therapy, I should finish my sentence. I learned this technique via the therapy that I had when I had my dark days many years ago. And basically you do a thought diary, right, of like what happened, why you feel this way and all of that. And my question to the therapist at that point of time, okay, I've made mental notes. I have like be more self-aware. I catch myself doing this, but catching myself doesn't change anything. Like this,
Yeah.
it's just catching myself, right? So in the beginning there was a lot of like self-awareness because I was a
Mm.
psychology student, but I wasn't self-aware of my own emotions, my self-belief and core belief and all of that, right? um and then basically the next part to the work after you have self-aware, you've catch yourself, is actually to take yourself out of the situation and be like, okay, Pearly, you did that in that situation. What actually happened? And next time, catching yourself a little bit earlier and
Mm.
changing one small thing about how you react, taking a deeper breath, maybe stepping away for a little while, and all of that. And slowly, it has helped me to not automatically revert
Yeah.
to the negative or the wrong core belief, but being able to say like, okay, you're not a shitty person, you're not worth it.
Yeah.
You just did a silly mistake at work, and,
Yeah.
and you'll be okay, and you
Mm.
just have to do this. So like the third party perspective, and then catching yourself a little bit earlier, and then experimenting, trying something different, trying to improve bit by bit, and slowly like that response would be different and would be better.
Yeah, it's very easy to fall into this like mental habit of like, um, oh, when this thing happens, I'm gonna feel shitty about myself.
Yeah,
If this happens, I'm a bad person, I suck, or whatever, right? Because
yeah,
that's what you were trained to do by yourself, like the last few interactions ago, right?
yeah,
But it gives you a lot of power to be like, okay, that is what happened in the past, right? These are the action replays that has happened in the
yep,
past, and these are all our tape recorded things.
yep,
Now rewatch the tape
yep,
and pull yourself out from this situation and be like, okay, is that what actually happened?
mm,
And then you kind of replay the situations from a third person point of view, right? And that is how you kind of help break those mental habits,
cycles, yeah,
yeah, break those mental cycles, habit cycles, to be like, okay, the next time, what, you know, you're going to be falling into these traps or these cycles again, try a different approach.
yep,
You have to break
exactly,
the habit,
yeah,
kind of thing, right? Like
exactly,
I think in a normal day-to-day habit kind of thing, where it's like if you wake up and immediately check your phone, and
yep,
that's like a bad habit you want to break,
yeah,
the easiest way is to move your phone further from your
yeah,
bed, right?
yeah,
Or like, yeah, the good habits are like you wake up, you go brush your teeth or whatever, right?
yep,
To break that habit is to throw away your toothbrush,
yeah,
whatever it is, like, right?
yeah,
But you have to first detach yourself from it to make the conscious decision to do those
yeah,
things.
exactly. And I think, being able to self-aware, catch yourself, make those changes will eventually help you to feel better about yourself, will eventually, because you can, so I've learned this, right? You cannot change a core belief, but you can create new core beliefs about yourself
100%.
that are stronger,
Yeah.
that are better, that are more real to you.
Yeah. And that's how you kind of build more positive mental
Correct,
habits, right?
yeah,
Instead of the
exactly,
negative habits of I feel shitty about myself,
correct,
you kind of re realign your, I guess, like brain electrodes
yeah,
or whatever you call it in
yeah,
neurology, to be like, instead of feeling shitty, you feel good, or
yeah,
instead of feeling shitty, this is a new response
yeah.
path that
Or
you want to
like
make.
the most basic one, like the most, it's like, I am human, I can do mistakes, I
Yeah.
might feel shitty, but it doesn't make me a shitty person.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, just that. And I think making those changes will slowly, really help a person to feel better
Yeah.
about situations
Yeah.
that they're going
No,
through.
100%. And much like your normal habits as well, like the only way to develop those habits is to just keep going
Doing
at
it,
it,
yeah,
right?
how, no matter how painful it is or
Yeah.
how boring and
Yeah, because
how
eventually, yes, it's gonna be painful the first time. It's
so
gonna be
painful,
painful to like go for a run for the first time.
so
You're gonna
painful,
get shin splints. Your legs are gonna hurt the next day, whatever.
so painful.
But by the third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, like it becomes less painful, and in
Yep,
fact, you can do it even better and
yeah,
faster.
yeah,
You get out the door faster. You put on your shoes faster, whatever it is, right? It's a habit that you just
yeah.
have to build.
It's the endurance and resilience.
Yeah,
Like, I know the word resilience is being thrown a lot,
I
but
personally hate the word resilience for multitude of reasons.
endurance and grit. Yeah,
Sure,
but it does help. It does help us to be a stronger person
hundred
mentally.
percent.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So now we know there are five different stress response. We kind of reflected on our own stress response, and we talk about how it's beneficial slash detrimental for us and how it affects us in our daily life. Anything else that you want to talk about in regards to this stress response?
No, I think that's pretty much that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've covered most of the things that we wanted to cover. I think the most important thing, and maybe this is like a more call to action homework for the people out there.
Yeah.
Like we promised, like every episode we'll try to do one.
Yep.
It is just to practice, maybe like replay some of the situations that you know that was a stressful situation.
Yep.
And you responded in a way that you didn't feel was right.
Yeah, so just reflect in the past couple of weeks, maybe the past week also, in the different areas of your life. Could be work, parents, family, relationship. I guess that's the three big things, right? That is related to people and situations. Reflect, how do you typically respond to a stressful situation, a situation that you weren't expecting and whatnot. Really figure out what is your natural tendency and how has it served you in your life. How has that be beneficial or maybe detrimental to you? And then from there, catch yourself in the next couple of weeks till you hear our next episode, or like continuously checking yourself, and then hopefully you can, like what Fabian did, like experimenting and changing some ways and some responses to be better. So yeah,
it's a lot of practice, and you're not going to get it the first few times, but I think that's kind of the point of learning and the kind of point of growth, right? You just have to keep practicing, and
I think-
eventually you'll find your path, right?
Can I be like philosophical?
Sure.
I think it's a point of view being human.
100%.
I think being human is where there's ebb and flow, and you make mistakes, and you are not a perfect person. But the fact that you be like, this is not the end all be all. Like, I can definitely be a better person, show up better for myself, for the rest of the people. That makes us beautifully, imperfectly human.
Yeah, I think that resonates with the whole like what all these like self-help consultant or self-help like Simon Sinek kind of people, gurus and all these kind of people. They say like don't be afraid of failure and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is that that's also because like you're not gonna remember the failures that you did like in one conversation like 10 years from now, right? Like very rarely, like in the like 100 in the grand scheme of things, in the 100
correct.
conversations you've had, you're not gonna remember the 2 or 3 small little mistakes that you're making, right? Maybe you'll remember it for like the first week or so.
I do remember certain like really awkward
Yeah.
moments,
but certain very awkward, maybe like a handful, right?
Correct.
How many conversations have you had
along the way? Yeah,
and
correct.
you've probably forgotten every other one.
Correct. And also like our brains are douchebag, right? So they always remember the most negative stuff.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, honestly, as you get better, you might lose some friendship, you might lose some stuff along the way, but that's how we learn to be better humans, better people.
And give yourself some grace to
Yeah.
fail. Give yourself some grace to learn new things, to make mistakes.
I just said this to my client. Like, she showed so much grace to a lot of other people, but she doesn't show grace towards herself. Yeah. So show grace towards yourself as well.
Yeah. Like
another homework. Show grace towards yourself.
Grace towards Show grace towards yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That was a good conversation. I was like, oh man, what topic should I talk about? I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be also relating to what we're going through right now. So I think we had a good conversation, actually.
Yeah,
for the lack of preparation that we had. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I think with that, like, share, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. And until the next episode, see you next time.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.